let's start off with the elephant in the room. We've had an insane situation in crypto with the FTX debacle. Just the biggest probably fraudulent activity that crypto's seen to date in one go. Probably makes the matter worse that SBF was pretending to be this super trustworthy guy, and $10 billion of funds trusted him, and he stole it all. So, I think it's been a really, really hard couple of weeks for blockchain, crypto. Everyone who owns crypto is hurting. Anyone who had money in FTX left there has lost it. Reputation of the industry has been harmed. Trust has been sucked out of the industry. Investment and investors has dried up. And just overall, nothing really good about it. So far. So, it is what it is. I think that this will pass, as all things that are really bad usually do. But that being said, there's a lot of people that have been sort of wiped out, and it's really, really kind of set everyone back. From our perspective, it's just a massive crypto fraud, just like Celsius, just like 3AC, just like a lot of these groups, and it's just really bad. There's no real upside. There's the one thing that is happening. There's a much stronger cry for regulation. There's a much stronger cry across the globe. I mean, even the hardcore, crypto maximalists are, basically saying you should trade on DEXs. So, DeFi works, and we've seen volumes in DeFi kind of go up as volumes on centralized exchanges dramatically come down. So look, overall, there's nothing wrong with the technology. I think the DeFi space kind of validated that DEXs worked fine and no one lost anything in particular in terms of trading on, say, Uniswap. That's not the same for, other projects like Luna and Celsius and all these other types of models that were out there. But, I guess on a positive note for us, there's a big cry for, asset-backed tokenized security tokens now. We were at the Singapore FinTech Festival a month ago. One of the 3 pillars of focus from the government is tokenized securities. And actually what was mentioned there by the head of the Monetary Authority of Singapore was the AMM model. So it was talked about and positioned as a key infrastructure piece that's going to be very valuable and required and necessary in the digital asset space. So we are the first ones that built a legal compliant AMM version for the security tokens. And I think that this is we were very early, but there's some pretty big changes in the space when you have the head of the Singapore regulator basically actively promoting the concept of AMMs on stage to 10,000 people. So that's good for us. I think outside of kind of the shit show of FTX and SBF, the mayhem there, we're continuing to build on. We have, the focus for us to grow out the business is very much B2B focused, so the other security token platforms. IXSwap was always built to be the market maker for all the security token platforms on the OTC market, so not in the exchange like a traditional market maker. So, so I think it's still very bullish for security tokens, and we're starting to see a lot more. Higher quality companies launching security tokens. Now, this is going to still take some time because IXSwap's original model was to create liquidity pools for issued security tokens. We've looked at over 1,000, I think, and a lot of them were just very poor quality or weren't structured properly or had the wrong technology or whatever it was. And now we can see more partners wanting to sign up with IXSwap. We've got to work through those integrations and work out the commercial terms and the legals. But you're starting to see those investment banks and those higher quality, real estate managers and VC funds and startups starting to launch more high quality security tokens, which once funded are ready for IX Swap as it plays out. So I mean, on top of that, I think that we're seeing more and more security token platforms around the world. So I just got back from London. I was at a digital assets week. Multiple new platforms, so security token issuance platforms. Switzerland had 3 or 4. Some of them doing commodities, some of them doing real estate. Brazil, a couple of other countries, Germany. And so there's more and more partner platforms being launched that are relevant for IX Swap because they're issuing security tokens and they don't have any market making solutions. So that's kind of where the market seems to be heading. It's been slower and harder than we'd all hoped, and since we launched the first 2 pools, we went into this pretty aggressive bear market, and it feels like since March there's been just every day there's some bigger, more negative news in the blockchain space. Whilst at the same time we know that there's a lot of building going on, and underneath all the hype and the FUD, there's more and more high quality issuers and more kind of institutional type players coming to the security token space. So again, that's very bullish for us. We are continuing on the mission in a very challenging market to build the products that we want to build and get more assets onto the platform. Aaron, I've been talking for long enough of an intro. Did you want to chime in with some current thoughts on the FTX saga, which is a big one, and what it means to IX Swap and any of the other positive stories that you've been having around the daily activities?
Yeah, I think for the whole FTX debacle, I think really long term is actually a really good thing for us. It's really kicked regulations into focus, and it's really putting a lot of focus into security tokens now. We're seeing a lot of banks within Singapore, well, not just banks, external asset managers, which I would say they are maybe small shops with 5 to 10 people doing asset management for clients. They are putting a lot more focus on security tokens now, and they're not even talking about cryptocurrency anymore. So there have been a couple of groups that have approached us already to start looking at primaries for next year. They were initially going to be launching cryptocurrencies, but given the landscape in the market right now, they don't even want to talk about cryptocurrency right now. So they are looking at security tokens and then really focusing on that. Unfortunately, I guess after SFF, we had quite good momentum. After that, there was a lot of focus and push by the head of the MAS in Singapore, and he was really focused on DeFi. Unfortunately, a week after that, the whole FTX debacle happened, and everything kind of went a bit pear-shaped after that. I would say on the business front, it's still pushing forward with the other platforms. It's taking a lot longer than I would like, to be honest, but it is progressing. The institutional partners are gaining some progress. We're doing another demo for another issuance platform tomorrow, which is not tomorrow, the day after. Which has been issuing trade finance bonds and sort of loans as well. So they're looking to tokenize those assets and have them have IXS white labeled. And on top of that, I think there are another 2 more groups that are waiting for us to get our full license in the Bahamas, which should be coming very, very, very soon. I would say within the next month, max. So they're really waiting for the retail licenses to come through, and then they want to push IXS across for their clients, because they're selling, most of the clients are retail at the moment.
Yeah, I think it's an important point that the marketplace isn't aware of yet, and because we haven't announced it yet, because we're waiting for the final pieces of paper. But what we have is coming down the pipeline will be some of the first security tokens that are available to any investor. So that's really important. Most of the security tokens in the world so far have been issued to accredited investors, which means you have to have a certain amount of net worth, typically $1 to $2 million. You have to prove it. And that's obviously out of the range of a lot of people. So what we'll be bringing to market in Q1 is what I would consider some of the first higher quality security tokens that allows anybody to invest. And that's been over 15 months of work already, and we're not there yet. But that will change the volumes. It'll change the number of assets dramatically on the IXS platform, and we're aware that everyone's been patiently waiting for more and more assets that they can participate in. Anyone can participate in. So we're very excited by that. And again, it's the long game. When we launched this project, there was a lot of different comments and noise within the the community. There were some people that understood this was going to take some years. We were trying to be clear that it would take some time and to develop out. It wasn't a metaverse pump and dump. It certainly wasn't a very short-term project, because what we're focusing on is tokenizing all the private markets, which is 120, 200, 300 times bigger than the crypto market. Like, the size of the marketplace we're attacking is hundreds of times bigger than the cryptocurrency market. So people forget that. Of course, just focusing on the token price can either get you down or make you upset that we haven't operated like a quick pump and dump project, which many of those things disappear overnight. So it's always been the focus. We haven't changed anything, I don't think, in terms of the mission. It takes time. We were told we could get licenses in 30 days, and 400 days later, we're getting really close. So that's obviously 11 times slower than we were told. So yeah, I think you're right, Aaron. I think that there's bullish signs for everything that we're doing. The regulation blizzard that's coming to crypto is positive for security tokens. You can argue, or you probably have, obviously, people love or hate regulation for crypto, but security tokens were always regulated under securities laws. So this is how it's being done. So for us, it's a good thing. We'll have to see how it plays out. We do know that even in America, the SEC is said that besides Bitcoin and Ethereum, that everything else is, I believe they said everything else looks and feels like a security token. So if you're going to, which is that's a huge question mark as well. Like, what do you do with hundreds of coins in America, or thousands of coins in America that overnight will be classified as security tokens? Probably tank the price, and maybe IXS gets just an incredible surge of business. Who knows? Either way, we're super pro crypto. Once you eventually see hundreds of assets, hundreds of security token pools on IXS, they're going to be paired against other coins. There'll be stable coins. Some will be against IXS. Some will be against USDC. I'm sure some will be against Bitcoin. So we're certainly super pro crypto. I think we're just stating facts that regulation and FTX will forever go down in history as one of the guys that negatively affected regulation. The regulators have now been given everything that they wanted in terms of justification for cracking the whip and cracking down on crypto, because they'll argue that FTX stole all this money and that's crypto's fault. In the end, it wasn't crypto's fault. It was a human being stealing completely illegally from one asset class or one pocket and giving it to his other pocket. It was probably made a bit easier because of crypto, without a doubt, but it didn't fundamentally change the core facts that it was an illegal activity, and crypto or cash, he stole the whole thing. He stole a couple $100 million. I think he stole $300 million cash out of the $400 million round that A16Z led. So again, it wasn't just crypto that he was stealing, and it wasn't crypto. It was the human activity between. Neither here nor there. I think that's all challenges that is now creating this huge vortex of volatility and uncertainty. Again, we're in the long game. We can see stronger clients issuing more and more STO platforms, wanting to sign up and explore IXS, and so we just got to continue on the mission, and it's going to continue to take time, but we're sort of working on it every day. I see a couple of questions here. Is there going to be a hardware wallet support integrated in the new UI next year? Aaron, what would you say to that?
with regards to the hardware wallets, you can actually already connect them to MetaMask and Wallet Connect already. And I think that's actually how most of the other platforms actually connect their hardware wallet. Unless you're thinking about direct connection, that's not being built right now. You can still connect it through MetaMask, which I use, which I think is okay. Unless you have a problem with them collecting your data, which seems to be a problem the last 1 week.
Yep. Okay, that was from Rest Fly Repeat. Jude Chulson, nice to see you. Yep, nice to see you here as well. Wonder if the Series A has been completed successfully. Curious about the progress. Will Launchpad launch early next year? Yeah, so the second point first, the target is Q1 for the Launchpad with retail access for security tokens. So that still remains exactly the plan. Obviously, you get licenses, then you have to finish the tech to match the licenses. Then you have to go find the clients to issue the products onto the tech and the licenses. So that's the process flow. So we're getting to the end of the first part, the most important part. We've been planning, well, the Launchpad is designed, planned, started to be built in parallel. We didn't want to start too early. You're building something that you can't use because your license doesn't come for another year, so that's not a good use of money. On the Series A, since the FTX debacle, it's been pretty much impossible to raise money for any project. So we've stopped that right now, and we'll look at that again in Q2 next year. That was one of the things that I dislike most about FTX and SBF is they've destroyed investor confidence globally, especially in blockchain. So yeah, he's hurt every platform. He's hurt every startup. He's hurt our startup because of what I just said, and the fact that all the Solana funded projects, treasuries on FTX have gone up in smoke, and he's basically evaporated so many great projects. So he's a really bad person. But yeah, so that's the landscape there. We're watching our costs really closely, and I think we'll have some more announcements on that middle to late Q1, early Q2. I'll get on to the next question. We could do this live, which is the whole point. When it's in full swing, you want to get on hardware support, especially after FTX regulated DEX plus hardware wallet support will destroy any sort of competition. Everyone else would just be fighting. Right, that wasn't a question, that was a statement, but I think he read that out. We'll certainly take those comments to note. I wouldn't disagree on that. Sounds logical. Okay, so Aaron, do you want to touch base on anything else in particular? We've gone through sort of, I guess, current market conditions. By the way, positively, our market makers told me today that, and they're market making on a lot of big crypto exchanges, Bitcoins. We've long story short, they said, it's looking pretty much like the bottom. Let's, knock on wood, not investment advice. Watching everything in the marketplace, a lot of the scams like FTX isn't like SBF holding $10 billion of Bitcoin he's going to dump on the marketplace. He's already stolen it all. Any of the crypto exchanges that have stolen their clients' deposits have already stolen it for a long time. So those coins have already been sold and traded predominantly, which means that there's no major large buckets of seeable coins to dump onto the marketplace at the moment. There's been so much bad news. It's hopefully we've run out of bad news. But I don't want to jinx it.
I think that was more in relation to the credit crisis within the crypto environment itself. So in terms of I guess credit risk for the lenders and all that, BlockFi is probably the last one to go down. The rest of the DeFi platforms are still okay, but I still do think that there still is significant risk on the exchanges. I think another 3 exchanges just dropped dead in the last 2 days, which is not good. So you're seeing some smaller exchanges crumble at the moment. So I guess if you guys have any money on the SEXs, I suggest you move it all off into your own DEX wallets.
Leave not a single coin on a centralized exchange right now. I moved everything off a while ago. Nothing on Binance. I like Binance. I like CZ. Just not worth the risk. And to mirror Aaron's comments, yeah, I think I noticed 2 or 3 exchanges. Some of them you've never even heard of. And that was always the thing. It was always like, who would trade on these random exchanges? How can you even trust what they say? And, there's no one behind, the website. So, that's where you might buy a couple of shit coins and trade a couple of shit coins, but immediately on trade, you're getting out of there. But yeah, I think ultimately, trust in centralized exchanges has been destroyed. I think it will come back to some degree, and it doesn't really make sense. Like SBF is super greedy and just a complete weirdo. He didn't need to steal everyone's money. He was making a lot of money and he was growing a massive business. So, that makes that situation even weirder. But yeah, I think, it'd be a bit of a stretch of the imagination to see CZ. I mean, there's nothing to do. If he steals I can't even spend all the money that he could steal, and this just doesn't seem to be a point. Again, touch wood. Touch wood. He doesn't take the path, because I guess we all thought that about SBF. But yeah, I think ultimately, look, let's hope they're right. Let's hope that we're sort of scraping the bottom, and the worst is at least around us right now, and we'll see how that plays out. But yeah, so I think. Undine's got he's staked on Binance. Yeah, I'm not going to give you advice, but if that was my ETH, I'd try to unstake and get it back in my wallet. If you can't, keep your fingers crossed. Watch it daily. Aaron, is there anything else you think we should be trying to cover? I don't want to keep the AMA going just for the sake of it, but if there's any other topics that the community wants to post in the chat group, we can touch on. I think we've touched on the development roadmap, the licensing, regulations, the current state of the marketplace, what's coming down the pipeline for the platform.
Do you want to chat on any of the, I guess, marketing sort of changes that we're doing as well?
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, so, and we've got our lead marketing leader here, Isabel, today. So one of the challenges of building out this business has been, it's the world first, so that comes with a lot of challenges, and there's 2 sides of the platform. There's obviously, well, there's a few sides, but you've got people who own security tokens, you've got people putting them in pools, you've got people trading security tokens, you've got issuers, you've got investors, and all these kinds of things. What we focused on right now is we've had a realignment on our marketing. We've got sort of workshops that have been going on for the last 2 weeks, and we consider the right approach to be kind of a B2B2C model, where we're the first business. The next business is all the STO platforms, and we've got the next one signing up soon. So we want to, go to all. We are speaking to, the groups like Artjax and OSL and Atlas One and Black Manta and Securitize and INX. And basically saying to them, this is what we do. We give you a market making solution for all the security tokens that are listed on your OTC platform. So you should white label our technology, send your assets to us, send your investors to us, because you've sold security tokens based off this liquidity function and you don't have anything. So we're the first one. If you actually look at Securitize, we're very friendly with Securitize and Carlos. They're probably the leaders in America. I mean, INX is, I guess, pretty big as well. But the point of the story is their secondary trading is on their homepage. So Securitize.io, they got 7 secondary listings. They're not really in the exchange. Well, they might be, but the point is that they're not exchange traded products, from my understanding. So it's like you've got those. You can see very clearly that the leading platforms have STOs, and they're just sitting there in the OTC platform. They don't have a liquidity solution. They don't have an AMM yet. So Securitize in the US is a different beast because it's the USA. But them aside, it's the same when you look throughout the rest of the world at the STO platforms and what they're trying to bring to the market, which initially starts as a listing. If it gets funded, it just lists again as for sale. And they're not big enough, they're not enough volume for traditional market makers to bother getting out of bed and doing it. And that's where kind of IX Swap slides into the picture and provides the solution to their biggest problem. So yeah, I think ultimately that's the B that we're focusing on. It's very targeted because they also have all the issuances because they're selling security tokens to their market all day long. Guys in Germany, they're selling it to German real estate groups and startups and everyone. The guys in France are doing the same, etc. So we're going to rely on them to bring us the assets. And the next partner coming on plans to bring 8 security tokens and 4,000 or 5,000 investors. So that's 4 times the assets we had on the platform speaking to individual issuers. So that's clearly the direction we should be pushing our energies into. The next platform can bring 8 or 10 or 15, and eventually every time these platforms are issuing security tokens, I think a super majority of the clients will choose to bring them to IXSwap because a lot of them are doing it for the whole concept of this liquidity in the first place. So then we get to the C. The C's a lot of people potentially on here, on this call, our community. This usually stands for consumer, I guess, but consumer, community, investors, people who are using IXSwap, because ultimately they're the end users, right? The security token issuance platforms is not the end user. They're helping their clients, which are the security token issuers, the real estate groups and startups, to find a liquidity solution. So they hand them to us, but then once those assets are on the platform, if they're being, if everything's working properly, they've got pools and they've got trading. Again, that's not the security token issuer, it's not the security token platform, it's everyone here. So, and that's why we've been pushing hard to get the retail license activated. So that could be for everyone, right? Absolutely everyone. Yeah, maybe besides 1 or 2 types of people, but pretty much everyone. So that's it. B to B to C. The marketing has to have a flavor that covers the C, which is education-based blogs, AMAs, branding, news, stories, articles, etc. And then the B2B marketing is direct reach outs to the platform owners, basically, the management teams of the STO platforms, and putting in a value proposition, the demonstration, a commercial discussion, a technical discussion, looking at products, how do they integrate to get, and marketing to that group specifically around what I kind of just said. So that's the B to B to C, us being the first business. So we're really kind of I'm excited by this refreshed, realigned focus for our marketing efforts. I think it's going to bring a lot more products and investors to the platform. Because we're certainly also very frustrated by the lack of speed and the activity we've been able to create so far, but we really want to go much faster. We want to grow a lot faster. So let me jump across to these questions here. Thanks, Undine. Number 1, we've established airdrops will work for liquidity providers. What if there's 1,000 minimum to receive the airdrop because of liquidity? Well, actually, I just read something today that established that airdrops don't work because everyone just dumps the tokens. Aaron, do you have any comments on number 1 here? What if there's 1,000 MSTO minimum to receive the NFT airdrop, but because of the liquidity providing, the MST holdings went down from 1,000 to 990?
Yeah, I think with individual holdings, we won't have an issue with the minimum. So because of the way that IXSwap is constructed and everything is held with the custodians, we'd be considered as a sort of like a lump sum holder on their cap table. So the way that it will be distributed across to all users, it will just be, say if we had 100,000 MSTO tokens in the custodians, right? We would get 100,000 tokens worth of dividends, and it will get prorated across everyone inside the ecosystem, including anyone that has staked anything within the liquidity pools. So I don't think that you guys have seen this yet because there's no dividends, but it should be on the website already. There is a payout function that we've created where any issuer can come to the platform and put in a different distribution application for their token. Right? So, and all it essentially does is that it calculates all the tokens within our ecosystem, including the liquidity pools, and it just prorates everything across to all the token holders.
Okay. Hopefully that was a decent answer. Our listings are hidden behind KYC because of strict securities advertising rules. Why is that we can advertise MSTO and CTI on Twitter? Well, the short answer is that advertising rules are specific about, let me put it this way. You could talk about projects. You can talk about products. You can talk about issuers. You can talk about security tokens. They're not meant to advertise like returns, like buy this for $1 and you will make $2. So that's one of the main restrictions. And again, it's different in different jurisdictions. But if you are licensed, you are allowed to promote products and activities. But again, if you just make sure that you stay within some of the boundaries, or you remove a couple of the positions. But again, also in the digital space, it's a little bit of a gray area. So we want to try to always, as a startup, try and push some boundaries whilst not pushing too hard. But again, even the regulators are somewhat unclear, in my opinion, about some of the regulations and what does and doesn't count for rules. The KYC, once we, Aaron, I don't know, do you have a quick snapshot of what advertising rules would be on the retail
That's
side?
it, right? For the new primary launchpad, we're being a little bit more, I guess, cheeky with the way that we're showing the deals. So we will be showing the deals upfront without the KYC for the primary issuance. But I guess all the deal terms will be grayed out until you sort of sign in. So you'll be able to see all the offerings that the platform is being offered, but you won't be able to access the deals until you, I guess, complete your KYC process. So that's being added to the platform. I think a lot of it's also related to the licenses that we have right now. Because for quite a while, we've been operating out of the Singapore jurisdiction for the licensing. The advertising rules in Singapore are a lot stricter. But now that we are about to receive the retail licenses, that should be a lot more relaxed, hopefully, I guess, for the time being, until things change again.
Yeah, exactly. Well, the other thing that I should add is you're allowed to promote past deals. So, which again is another area to dance around, because a past primary issuance, when you raise money the first time, if that token's then trading secondary, it is a past deal, but it's now in a different environment. But you can show, again, there is a certain amount of information you can show. You don't want to be rubbing it in people's faces. We're predominantly, posting to our own community. I don't think we might have, but I don't recall, doing too much third-party media around this topic. Again, so we can at least argue that from our position, we're speaking to our audience. A lot of them are on the platform. And so far, I guess we've been okay. Although, clearly, I guess we've had issues there anyway. I don't think we're even allowed to advertise because of they've put us in the crypto bucket, and we currently have some restrictions on Twitter. But look, can the team be more specific about the amount of funds they have to survive the crypto winter? Well, I think that the project raised about $2.95 million US. We spent a lot of money on our tech. I think close to $1.5 million. And then we've been really cost conscious since March, since we launched, and then since the world fell apart. So yeah, we're managing our treasury so we can stay in the game as long as we need to get to the next funding round, or ideally a lot more sales next year, revenue I should say. We don't really, crypto winter, sure, definitely. We're not a pure crypto platform, so I don't personally look at us, if crypto winter was 2 years, I'd say that might mean 1 year for us, or it's something that's meaningful, but less per se. Because people who are launching a real estate token, well, a lot of them now, they don't care how much Bitcoin costs, because it doesn't really matter. And that's the same if you're buying a share of a startup. If it's $2 for every STO, I mean, you only care what crypto prices are if you're using them to make payments, and it's more Bitcoins or less Bitcoins. But if you're using USDC, $2 is $2. So where Bitcoin price goes, certainly the entire market feels it, but it's much less influential on equity investments in companies. Just like, it's the same thing if US dollars going up and down and you're investing in US companies, yeah, it affects you, but it's still just a payment rail. It affects you a lot less than crypto because US dollar doesn't move anywhere near as much as crypto. But crypto essentially is more of a payment rail. Aaron, anything you wanted to add there? If not, I'll continue on. If an STO is only traded on...
Just say that, I guess after the couple of discussions over the last couple of weeks, we're going to be putting a lot more focus on revenue generation for the platform already, so that we don't have to rely so much on any funding rounds, right? We've seen this year with all the meltdowns and all that. Every time a meltdown happens in crypto, all the funding dries up for a short period of time, right? So we don't want to be dependent on any sort of fundraising rounds, and we want to start generating revenue, which is why we've been pushing the B2B angle quite a fair bit lately. Yeah,
100%. What would happen if a custodian for the token disappeared? We'd have to find another one. So we'd have to make that happen. The agreement in terms for custodians usually has a grace period. So if something goes wrong, you have 2 months to find a solution. So we're also getting our own custody license. So we can solve that problem, or hopefully there'll be many other custodians that can step in. Unlike FTX, I don't think any custodian in the world has ever closed in 2 days' time. I don't want to jinx it, but it's a much more stable, slower moving beast that we should certainly have plenty of time if things aren't going great for the custodians. Will Kingdomverse be listed on IXS? Yeah. Of course, in the current model we offer, we can't list a token unless it's being issued and funded. So they're in their current issuance stage. But we'd love to have that on the platform. Aaron's been pumping out some 2023 projections. Have you got a simple answer for what's the overall business goals for next year? Example, I guess, the target number of STOs. What's our wish list by December 31st, 2023 on the platform?
Well, my target is for one white label client a month after we start getting the retail licenses. So for our the first 2 white label partners that we're looking at right now, they've got about somewhere between 10 to 20 STOs in their platform. Right? We want to grow this out into P2P manner because it's a lot faster than searching for individual STOs. That's what we've been looking for, individual STOs for over a year already. And I think we've spoken to almost every single one that has enough of a marketing budget to advertise, right? But what we found is that there have been a lot of other smaller STOs out there in the market which are better quality. It's just that they haven't put so much focus onto Twitter and Discord marketing and all that. So we're going to be focused a lot more on that. So hopefully we're targeting maybe about 20 to 30 STOs minimum next year on the platform that are going to be brought in by external partners. For us ourselves, we're targeting at least one every 2 months on the platform for our own, I guess, organic listings on the platform.
Yeah, cool. So the back to the B2B to C model, the focus is on multiple new partners that have 10, 20, 30 listings. So compared to this year, we're going to try to do 20, 30, 40x times the volume, which would be 50, 60, 70, 80, 100. If USDT went to zero, here's the last question, I think, because I've been talking nonstop since 6:30 a.m. So we'll wrap it up in 5 minutes. Hypothetically, if USDT went to zero, could IXS then be paired to USDC? I haven't thought of that, but that's a good question. I saw Tether FUD again this morning. What do you think, Aaron?
I honestly think if USDT went to zero, 90% of the crypto market is going to go to zero at this point. Yeah, I mean, we generally prefer USDC in terms of the company treasury, other than the market making funds, because KuCoin only uses USDT. All our USD treasury is generally in USDC. we have a lot more faith in Circle than Bitfinex, I guess.
Yeah. Could we change that out essentially at KuCoin, or do they not take USDC?
No, all their pairings are in USDT, along with almost every other exchange out there. You hardly see any exchanges with USDC pairings.
No, that's the problem. Yeah, so that's the answer. Let's the last thing I say on Tether, like there was no way when crypto companies couldn't get bank accounts that Tether was holding billions of dollars in cash somewhere. Like it just doesn't equate. However, the argument is that, again, banks are only holding, 10, 20% of the so-called value of fiat in their whole business models. Except, banks are meant to be using, government-issued fiat currency, and the government could step in to fix any bank runs. That's kind of the theory, at least. So the Tether bulls are saying, they're claiming to have, 60, 70% of cash and 20, 30% of treasury bonds and other instruments. And if there was a run on the bank, as long as it wasn't 70, 80% of Tether, then it'd be fine. And even then, this argument is that 70, 80% of cash is 3 or 4 times what the banks have. But anyway, this Tether debate rages, been raging forever, probably continue to rage. I agree with Aaron, if Tether goes down, crypto markets are in deep trouble. There's too many assets paired against it, there's too much going on there. So let's hope that it continues to do what it does, which is just exist, and over time USDC grows, and more transparent, or more options exist in the marketplace, so we're less reliant on USDT. And even last week, the top 3 of the top 6 coins are stable coins, right, in the market. Like, stable coins are an enormous amount of value in the crypto markets, which is ironic, seeing as a lot of people who are maximalist crypto think that everything should be priced against Bitcoin and we don't need any fiat. But then if you look at the marketplace, clearly stable coins are a dominant feature. That's kind of...
That's it. I think there's going to be a lot more push on the CBDC side over the next year or so. I'm not sure if any of you guys realized there was actually a e-money, e-euros that was actually flowing through the IXS system last week or the week before. One of our clients was actually testing it, and it was quite interesting. So he managed to do a transaction from his bank account, sign up for KYC, and create a liquidity pool, did swaps within 10 minutes. So in Europe now, they've got this company called Monerium that essentially uses IBAN to transfer either crypto or cash, which is super interesting. And I know another company in Singapore that's actually trying to push forward on this as well. So I think we're going to see a lot more evolution in the stablecoin and CBDC front, and hopefully we move away from Tether.
Yeah, seriously. Seriously. All right, well, look, that's a wrap. We've got a conference early in the morning, so thanks everyone for joining. Thanks, Isabel, for hosting us today. Aaron, for turning up. We appreciate all the support in the community, and we'll keep you guys updated to the progress. We're hard at work as always, and guys, have a good night and try to stay out of crypto mayhem. All right, thanks everyone.
Cool. Thanks everyone.